All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome, TCS students, faculty, guests, everyone that has been helping put this thing together. I want to just start things off by saying we have 5 wonderful talks that we are going to listen to. These students have prepared and rehearsed and have gotten wonderful feedback from their peers. And it's my pleasure to introduce the first group to come on up here in just a second. I also want to say a quick thank you to the Downtown Spokane Library. Let's give them a round of applause, please. They helped us get this all organized and set up. We do have the YouTube live stream going right now. So we're pretty darn excited to get this first group up, and we got your slides going. Would you guys like to come on up to the stage? Let's give them a round of applause. You want this off? You want this off? You can test out the mics really quick.
Does this work? Hello? Is this on? Okay. So, real quick, trigger warning. Presentation contains descriptions of eating disorders, mentions of suicide, and other possibly triggering language. So if you feel to step out at any point during this presentation, please feel free to do so.
Why would you want to do this to yourself?
You don't look like you have an eating disorder.
Boys can't have eating disorders.
I'm just saying I would never do that.
I'm just saying you look overweight. You can't have an eating
Saying you're too young to be talking about it. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
I'm
just saying.
I'm
just saying.
Because
um,
80%
Two-
someone's that result of
my God.
hello? Eating disorders are not a new underground topic. Uneducated about it. Misconceptions. We perceive eating disorders and will continue to do if we don't. Educated about one important thing to keep up on is variety in chemistry and eating genetic cause with them. American psychiatric disorders often occur with mood disorders that look like anxiety, OCD, or evidence suggests
Most of the time when people think eating disorders, they think of thin, white teenage girls, girls whose ribs are showing and girls who are extremely skinny. And though eating disorders can look like this, eating disorders don't look a certain way. Imagine a scenario with me. You are having trouble walking. You are having trouble standing on this one leg, and you think it might be broken, but you are afraid of telling people. So its leg starts to hurt worse and worse every day. You set up an appointment with a doctor. However, when you tell your friends about your appointment, you expect support. Instead, they decide to shoot you down. You can't have a broken leg. You don't have a broken leg. Your bone's not sticking out. Of course you don't have a broken leg. You're not crying right now. So everything your friends are telling you is really starting to scare you. So instead, you cancel your appointment and just try to live on. But, I mean, it's a broken leg, so it's not going to fix itself. The leg starts to hurt worse and worse, and then it, falls off. So that would be, really bad. Apply this logic to eating disorders. If you are constantly telling a person with an eating disorder that they don't have an eating disorder because they don't look like it, it could potentially drive them to not asking for the help they need. So what can we do to help? Well, you can start by educating yourself and others. Many people may be driven away from finding help with eating disorders, and maybe your friends have had this mindset, or maybe you have had this mindset in the past. Educate people. Instead of just knowing eating disorders don't look a certain way, help others to know that too. Everybody will need support with something at some point, so try and give them that support.
As Emmeline confirmed, the stereotype that eating disorders only affect thin white girls is something that the media validates. But in reality, eating disorders can occur in people of all ages, genders, weights, socioeconomic classes, and cultural backgrounds. People of all genders experience eating disorders. According to ANAD, which is the National Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders, 91% of women in a college campus survey admitted to controlling their weight through dieting, and women aren't the only people being affected. There are over 70 million individuals worldwide struggling with eating disorders, and a third of those people are men. 25% of people with anorexia are men. And the non-binary people are negatively affected as well. The stereotype of the androgynous look in media often portrays people that are skinny. So a lot of non-binary people end up controlling their weight through dieting in order to try to fit into this stereotype. So people of any gender can experience an eating disorder. We also see a large prevalence of eating disorders in the LGBT community as well as in people of color. Gender dysphoria in transgender people is often cited as the key link to eating disorders. Trans-college students report experiencing eating disorders at approximately 4 times the rate of their cisgender classmates. 32% of trans people report restricting their eating to modify their bodies without hormones. Gay men are 7 times more likely to binge eat and 12 more times likely to purge than heterosexual men. According to the Trevor Project, 9% of LGBT youth ages 13 to 24 have been diagnosed with an eating disorder, and another 30% suspect that they might have an eating disorder. People of color are half as likely to be diagnosed and receive treatment than their white peers, and black teens are 50% more likely than white teens to exhibit bulimic behavior. We also conducted a survey of our classmates and facilitators at our school, and we found that around 17 out of 69 people, or 75%, did not know that only around 5% of people with eating disorders are clinically underweight. People in larger bodies are half as likely to be diagnosed than those at a normal or underweight. The misconception that only thin white girls get eating disorders is extremely harmful. It promotes the idea that eating disorders are not dangerous to other communities, when in reality, LGBT youth are 4 times more likely to commit suicide if they have had an eating disorder or have been suspected of having an eating disorder, and men have higher chances of death due to the fact that they're usually treated at later stages. So what can you do? Always remember that anyone can have an eating disorder. If you think that you or a loved one might have an eating disorder, don't ignore the signs just because they're not the stereotype.
Eating disorders only affect teens. Yes, teens are affected by eating disorders, but eating disorders can affect all ages. In the article, Eating Disorders Spike Among Children and Teens, What Parents Should Know, 1 in 7 men and 1 in 5 women experience an eating disorder by the age 40, and 95% of those are diagnosed by the age 25. Sometimes symptoms develop at a much younger age. 42% of 1st to 3rd grade girls want to be thinner, and 81% of 10-year-old girls are afraid of being fat. According to the National Eating Disorder Collaboration article, Eating Disorders Explained, a lot of eating disorders start to develop between the ages of 12 and 25. Eating disorder specialists say that there's an increase in eating disorders between the ages of 5 and 6 years old. Think about it. When you see an eating disorder represented in media, shows, and movies, you see them represented by teens. This can turn into a major problem because it gives people the idea eating disorders only affect teens. Adults and young children can see the minimal representation in media and think they can't get the help that they need.
Okay, some risk factors to look out for are having a close family member with eating issues, perfectionism, body image dissatisfaction, and history of being bullied or teased.
If you suspect you or a loved one having eating disorder, look out for these warning signs. Extreme mood swings, frequent dieting or restricting, isolation from activities, and discomfort eating around food. And then some of the physical signs to look out for are extreme fluctuations in weight, irregular menstrual cycle, or irregular dieting.
So what can you do to help? Educate yourself, educate others, call people out on their misconceptions, and if you hear people saying things that you know aren't true, tell them. And listen to the experiences of people with eating disorders. Never shut someone down just because you think that they don't seem like the type of person that can get an eating disorder. Always be an ally and always stay educated.
Here are some local resources. Never hesitate to reach out for help if you need it. The Emily Program. Their number is 612-324-0202. Opal Food Plus Body Wisdom 206-558-9057. Then within 612-324-0202.
I know you didn't choose to have an eating disorder.
You don't need to look a certain way to have an eating disorder.
Anyone can have an eating disorder.
Teens aren't the only ones struggling.
I'm just saying.
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 Guys did a great job. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do one mic at a time. Okay. All right, that was a wonderful talk, and thank you for the information. That was amazing. We will have the next group up, and I think with the mic situation that we have here, we're going to go with one mic from now on and have to just pass that around a little bit. So we have media misconceptions coming on up. Let's give them a nice warm welcome. Who's going first? Okay, so like I said, I think we're going to have to just do one mic. And hey, team, really quick, little team huddle. So, okay, and you want to test it out really quick just to make sure?
It works.
One mic thing, Ryan said that we can't film, I can't hear you on the film unless you have the mic.
Okay.
Okay, so make sure that whatever you want to say, it's got the mic, okay? You guys are going to do awesome. All right, ready to go?
Picture you all naked. That's what the media taught me growing up. And honestly, I'd call that something positive. But when going through the internet anonymously or not logged in, using Google, Bing, or other websites, 22 out of 38 articles will come out negatively. Someone died, war sparked, politics isn't fun. 8 of them will be positive. 80 puppies were adopted, or someone went to prom with Danny DeVito, or a Florida man story. The rest fall into a sort of neutral zone, information about the weather and stuff. When using the internet logged in, your media is being suggested based on what you like. That's called an algorithm. When using an algorithm, I found that 19 out of 38 articles come out positively, compared to the 8 that came out positively without the algorithm. Using an algorithm, it becomes your decision to put positivity in your world based upon what you click and what articles you read. Thank you.
Now, I went to Glover for middle school, and unfortunately, that statement by itself is one to sympathize with. They changed me for the worse, and their main weapon was information in the media they fed me. My definition of media is something used to communicate with others, acquire information, and pass time. The Merriam-Webster definition is a form of electronic communication, such as websites for social networking, through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content. Nowhere in this definition does it mention who can be users and who can share information. The article Media Bias by All Sides explains how there's no such thing as unbiased news. Everything comes through a biased filter. The reporter, the editor, the newscaster, even how the newscaster says the words and which words they put emphasis on. It's all tailored to the speaker and writer's point of view. Recently, at a place that should be considered safe, I've noticed more racism there than anywhere I've ever been. There was one incident in particular where a student called another student a hybrid, and this student was indeed biracial, and the student that called them that was so clueless and didn't even know that it was bad, that they said it again. And it's kind of insane. Ignorance, allied with power, is the most ferocious enemy justice can have.
Picture this. It's a Saturday night. You're tired. You want something to do. So you pick up your phone, you look through your notifications, you look through your social media. I know you all do. And you read whatever's on there, whatever interests you. Before you know it, you're being suggested articles that are absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't know, aliens are eating pineapple chili dogs somewhere in Florida while dressed up as Pokemon. Media is meant to draw you in and continually feed you stories and articles that catch your interest. For a lot of people, this can seem like a good way to see things that you're interested in or enjoy. But the end goal of media sources is not to make you feel happy or good about what you see. It's meant to generate profit and keep you hooked into it as long as possible. The way they do this is through a cycle of negative news, which actually has an official name when people are drawn into this cycle. It's called doom scrolling, adept name. It starts with when media sources find stories that reflect what is most popular with their audience, because they can see what their audience likes to read the most. Because of that, they create new stories, and the audience decides which stories they want to click on, which alerts the company to what the audience clicks on most, which just kind of comes back to media sources finding new stories that are similar to what their audience clicks on. So essentially, whatever stories are most popular with the audience, they're going to, the spirit in which they're written is going to be drawn back into a lot of the news stories that are being published. Unfortunately, a lot of negative news is produced in this way. We, being humans, have an internal instinct to unconsciously scope out immediate danger. This is essentially a defense hazard, so you don't get eaten by a wild animal or accidentally trip over something on the ground. However, media sources are able to abuse this system because they're essentially able to alert our unconscious minds to immediate danger by how they present their stories. So, for instance, you might be more drawn to look at an article that says that cyclones are present in the Northwest region than an article that says students painted a mural on Wall Street. just because the cyclones have more immediate danger in them, and it alerts your unconscious mind that you need to read it because it might affect you. Negative media can harm people and lead to bad mental health and decline in life satisfaction. When people have constant exposure to negative media, they start to have warped views of the world, in which things appear to be getting worse, when in reality, they might be better than they've ever been. This can end up causing depression, anxiety, loneliness, and increase of suicidal thoughts. Social media manipulates our minds. You know, there are a lot of cautions and warnings and all these different things around, like drugs and alcohol, for instance, because they're addictive and they manipulate your mind. Yeah. Social media essentially does that very thing. It draws you in, it keeps you in, and it harms you. So social media is pretty dangerous, actually, and it's really important for us to know that. Media sources are using a cycle of negativity to capture our attentions and ultimately manipulate our minds to put money into their pockets while we suffer the consequences. It's time to break out of this cycle. Don't become drawn into the mire of biased and hateful media. If we can do this, we can create a more positive and loving community in which we can find peace with each other rather than conflict.
Now, before I start, I'm going to give you guys a little fun fact. There are nearly 3.5 billion active social media users, and every 6.4 seconds a new account is made. Every user has an average of 7.6 social media accounts, and alongside, we as Americans spend almost 142 minutes on average daily online. Okay, now on to this poem. So when I was growing up, when I was younger, I always heard adults brag and converse about the untouched skin of their youth. So soft, smooth, pure. You were seen as an angel for not having an opinion or even speaking a word. Believe it or not, your silence was valued. But was it worth the hardships, the hatred, and disgust that boils up from a depth so deep that even the deepest points of the earth dare not to touch? But just as in markets, there's inflation. The want for more by hatred of less, but less is more, they say. When you are looking to speak, but you have not yet been spoken to, because good girls and boys, they wait. They wait and they sit there, just as a dog waiting for commands, waiting for a little grasp of hope, like a parent whose youth are learning to walk. You are told to grow up from day one, but the joys of a first word turn into the hate and the thought and the wander of the world. From kittens and rainbows to rape and war, there was no fine line, because you were taught that sticks and stones may break your bones, but your words are meant to have no meaning. We have meaning when we say this. We will create that fine line. We will create a protection like a warm hug of a mother on a cold winter's day. From now on, that silence will no longer hold a currency on our brains, because preaching to a choir that dares not to care, we can still flood their ears and drown out negativity and replace it with the positives. We are all the foundation in a road of life. Without a strong foundation, we will start to crack and soon crumble. Why repair it later when it could have been structured sound in the beginning? Thank you.
Well done. Good job. You did it. Good job. You guys did a great job. All right. Wonderful job. Yet again, we are working on our third presentation for today. We have next up the group for water pollution. Let's give them a nice warm welcome.
After I'm done, are you right after me? Yeah. down it to her. Who loves the Spokane River? I do. It's beautiful, especially when there's like a layer of fog hovering over it. Many people come far and wide to see our river. People swim, fish, raft, and even take photos. That's just some of the things people do. Yeah, that water, it's poisoned. It has like real poison in it. That river that's right there is poisoned. And the worst part about it is we're doing it. Our whole city was built around it, and we're poisoning it. Let's fix that.
Hardly anyone I know think there's anything wrong with the river. Yeah, sure, people know it's polluted, but don't think it's causing any harm in any way. They see the beauty with the naked eye, but can't see what's lurking as microscopic particles. The Spokane River has a lot of interesting history, including the lingering effects of decades-old industrial pollution, and the history of dumping waste straight into the river. The pollution started in 1882 with sewage and sawmill waste. In 1930, garbage was going straight into the river by trucks filled with the city's trash. This was happening despite the complaints from fishermen about the 25 city pipes pouring raw sewage into the river day and night. By 1975, the sewage plants were dumping 110 gallons of waste into the water.
So I'm assuming we all know what a fire extinguisher is, right? So the fluid inside of it is called a PCB, and that is inside our waters. It's also an electrical equipment, and that is also in our waters. It is poisoning our fish and ourselves. It's poisoning our water, everything. When consuming PCBs through the fish that have been contaminated, it can cause lots of different cancers and skin conditions, mainly rashes though. It's also affecting our fish. The fish that are being contaminated are now unable to reproduce, as well as they are immunocompromised. I forgot the word for a second. It is unsafe to fish in our waters, and the EPA had a lawsuit filed against them recently because they were unable to protect our waters from these PCBs. The Spokane Riverkeeper doesn't even know how these PCBs are getting into our waters, so it's a really big concern.
No, it's fine. On the other hand, PFAs, or polyfluorinated substances, are chemicals that come from a wide range of industrial systems, but mainly sewage discharge. A study of the water chemical levels from the last year for the entire U.S. shows that Washington waters were some of the least polluted waters when it comes to PFA levels. 1.7 or 1.6 part per thousand for the only two chemicals found in the Spokane River. The level of danger is 10. We're far from that. 60% of our waters still have PFAs in them, though only a small amount. The goal is to reach 0 for our waters. Maybe lower than other states, but our Spokane River is still very polluted. Though there aren't many PFAs in our water, there are many toxins to keep in mind.
Many people do not know what kind of chemicals are in our water. These chemicals were tested every year from 2017 to 2021, and here's the gathered data. We have goals for our water, also known as MCLGs, or maximum contaminant level goals. The deadly king of poisons is in our water, arsenic. I am talking about arsenic. Arsenic is most commonly used as rat poison and as an alloying agent. It is commonly found in the processing of glass, pigments, textiles, paper, and more. Apple trees specifically produce large amounts of arsenic, and therefore runoff from orchards also leads to the buildup in rivers. Arsenic is very dangerous and can cause cancer. If the amount in a liter of our water is over 10 micrograms, the maximum contaminant level, or MCL, will be breached, and you would not be allowed to safely drink the water. Radium. Yes, radium. Radium is the most radioactive natural element in the world, 1 million times more so than uranium, and it is in our water. This is due to its use in medicine, but also its natural deposit erosion. High levels of radium can cause problems with the blood, eyes, and teeth, broken teeth and cavities. And exposure to enough radium has also been shown to increase your risk of bone, liver, and breast cancer. We have 2 different types of radium in our water, radium-226 and radium-228. The MCL is 5 picocuries per liter of water. Lead and copper can both be found in our river's water. These results were taken every 3 years, 2015, 2018, and 2021. They get into the water from corroding household pipes. Both are dangerous and should not be consumed in high levels. Copper can cause headaches, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach cramps, nausea, liver damage, and kidney disease. Lead can cause damage to the brain. It can also injure other soft tissues and organs, can interfere with the formation of blood, and exposure to enough lead can even kill. This is due to it being a powerful neurotoxin. The MCL for copper is 1.3 milligrams per liter, and the MCL for lead is 15 micrograms per liter. There is a medium level of concern for these heavy metals in our water. A large amount of our river water comes from Lake Coeur d'Alene, which happens to be the most heavy metal polluted lake in America. There's a not so fun fact right there. There are large deposits that have been eroded in the lake, as well as runoff from mining in Silver Valley and Kellogg. We need to work together to reach our lower level of chemicals in our waters, and we can do it if we start now.
There we go. The Spokane River Keeper was a nonprofit organization founded in 2009 by a bunch of lawyers that were really fed up with all the pollution in our waters. Their goal is to protect the river's vibrancy, ecological health, aesthetic integrity, and the healthy connections we have to our river as a community. They have excelled in a lot of different things, such as river cleanup, advocating for the Clean Water Act, and many different things. Their biggest concern right now is currently the PFAS in our waters, specifically in Hangman Creek with their non-point source pollution.
What can we do to help? Love your river. This is the cleanest the river has been in over 100 years, but it's still not safe. You can contribute by signing up and helping out with the Spokane River Keepers biannual Spokane River Cleanup. By contributing to events like this, you can help be part of the solution to reduce chemicals in our rivers. If we can know, love, care, and activate for our river, we can be the voices that help support change.
The Spokane River is a symbol of respect. Respect to those that have used it as a resource in the past, as well as the creatures living inside of it now. It is our past, our present, and our future. If we don't take the time now to work towards loving and caring for our river, I don't know what's going to happen. What else was on my cards? There we go. The Spokane River is still the foundation of a healthier lifestyle, the center of our city, and an ecological important resource. We are poisoning our water, and we could change that, but not alone. Thank you. It's okay.
What a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for that. We are on to our next group, Ending Child Marriage. Please come on up. Let's give them a nice warm welcome.
Trigger warning. This talk involves mentions of sexual assault of a minor, sexual harassment, grooming, alcohol, drugs, and sexual trafficking. If any of this upsets you, please feel free to leave.
Well, When April was 12 years old, she was groomed by a 22-year-old man, and until she was 15, and then when she was 15, she was married to him. On her wedding night, she was assaulted and consistently drugged and then that continued to happen for the next couple years. When she turned 16, she was able to afford a lawyer and then started saving up money to finally get a divorce by the time she was 18. People who are in situations like April, who are still able to get divorces, continue to lose multiple years of education, and it causes extreme difficulties for the rest of their life. A lot of people think that child marriages happen because of family commitments or cultural reasons, and some people would even bring up parts of South Asia or Africa because it's historically a common practice there. But child marriages aren't just a foreign concept. They're still a continuing issue, and they're a local issue.
Now, child marriage is defined as anyone under the age of 18 getting married. Now, this will mean 17-year-olds will count to our numbers, but so will 15-year-olds like April. Now, we've asked some of you to take a short quiz, and we will be showing some of the answers we got.
What is the most common reason for child marriage? Most people assume it's because of religious beliefs, because in the wee old days of our hellscape that has become America, that's what it was. But nowadays, the reason has changed. Most people who get married as a child do it because of poverty. If a low-income household cannot take care of their child, some parents make the hard decision to marry their child off to somebody who's wealthier and able to take care of them.
Now, here on this graph, we can see the number of child marriages that have happened in different states between the years 2000 and 2018. Now, we've only shown 6 states on here, but this is an issue in more than just those 6 states. Now, we see Texas has the most, with having over 41,000 between these years, followed by California with over 23,000. Now, we can see Washington on here is much lower numbers. We still do have this as an issue with us almost reaching 6,000. Now, Utah is on here because people think it's just those darn Mormons. Just those darn Mormons marrying all the children. However, we can see that is not really the case, with it being very similar numbers to Idaho, with Oregon being closely followed by them all.
While all of this information is important, we're not just here to talk about the data. Knowing the why and how in this topic is equally important. This is also a moral issue, and here's why.
Between 70 and 80% of people who get married as a child will end up getting a divorce. This is really bad because due to their limited legal rights, they cannot get a divorce while they are still a child. They have to wait until they are an adult to be able to file for divorce.
Now, child marriages happen a lot because people are trying to get around our country's rape laws. Now, the age of consent in America is different depending on what state you live in, but it is between the ages of 18 or 16. Now, 5% of child marriages happen to people who are 15 years old or younger, meaning they go below all of our ages of consent. However, if 2 people are married and one of them is under the age of consent, it does not instantly count as rape. It needs to be proven to be that. This means sex trafficking happens a lot with this because they can get away with it easier. Child marriage also happens when one of the people in the relationship is pregnant. They a lot of times do not want this child to be born out of wedlock, so they will get the 2 parties married.
It's also important to understand the laws behind this issue to take action.
Child marriage is currently legal in 43 states. Only 6 states have set the minimum age at 18 and have eliminated all exceptions. Those states are Delaware, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. And 20 states have no minimum age with a parental or judicial waiver. As of July 2022, 8 have no minimum, so they use exceptions. Those states are California, Michigan, Mississippi, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Washington, West Virginia, and Wyoming. We only have a couple federal laws on this, and all of them only outline the rape of a child because if the child is married, the adult does not need to prove that the child gave consent. Unless the child is impaired, like with sleeping, is drunk, drugged, etc.
Now, on this graph, we can see the child marriages that happened between the years 2000 and 2018. We can see a massive spike up here where 76,000 child marriages happened in the US. Now, this has very obviously gone down. Within 2018, only over 2,500 child marriages happened. This means there is hope for this, as it has been shown to be able to go down as more states ban it. Now, you may be wondering what happened in 2011. A lot of human trafficking places got put in jail, and to not be thrown in jail, a lot of times they would have a lot of marriages, because as it was talked about earlier, if the people are married, it is not instantly rape. But however, even though this is a low number, this is still an issue that needs to be worked on. And with time, we hope to get this number all the way down to 0.
The causes for child marriages are outdated and unreasonable. While there are a lot that happen now because of poverty, a lot of the other ones, like for culture and religion, were only important because of the average life expectancy, which since then has continued to go up, but child marriages are still consistently happening. A lot of people that get put in child marriages are either held to their marriage till adulthood or till life because of their family and or government, which is something that definitely needs to change. In order to take action on this issue, you can join the National Coalition to End Child Marriages and donate. A lot of these resources have either places to donate or just more places to find information. By donating, it gives them the ability to help people and get them lawyers and also a more steady income and or housing or schooling. There's possibility for change. It just needs to start somewhere. Thank you.
Do we get to leave now? Okay, cool.
Well done, well done. Okay, we are going to get set up for our final group, our 5th group. Let's give them a warm welcome to the stage. We got sharks, folks. So who's going to get the clicker? You'll have it? Okay. And then you guys know about the mic, right? Just make sure if you're not talking on the mic, you won't get recorded audio-wise. Okay, so make sure that you talk to the mic. Do you think we can have like 2?
Think back to where you were an hour ago. From where you were then to where you are now, 60 minutes later, over 11,000 sharks have died because of human presence. Now, you may be thinking, why should I care? And most people not only don't care, but they have an unreasonable fear of sharks. This fear and misunderstanding distracts from the real problem, the human problem. Now, take the movie Jaws, for example. The movie cover speaks for itself, and you walk away viewing sharks as bloodthirsty monsters. Thanks to misleading media coverage and stereotypical movie representations, sharks are not only misunderstood, but they aren't given proper recognition or help.
Unlike Jaws, real life isn't a movie. The main reason shark attacks happen is because of curiosity. Human movement causes splashing, which catches the shark's attention. They aren't going out of their way to attack humans. And surprisingly enough, shark attacks are fairly uncommon.
in reality, the chances of drowning are far higher than being bitten by a shark. Not only but 1.3 million people die from car crashes a year, a little over 3 million people die from disease, and only 10 people die a year from shark attacks. I don't see people freaking out over the flu or refusing to drive their car places, unless you're mega celebrity Kim Kardashian. So why do we have this absurd fear of sharks? This terror leads to people villainizing sharks and not realizing their contribution to our ocean's ecosystem.
Despite this overarching fear of such predators, humans have a harmful effect on sharks, preying upon them and creating a rapid decline in shark populations. In the past 50 years alone, shark populations have decreased 71%. The amount of shark deaths by humans versus human deaths by sharks is a 10 million to 1 ratio, meaning for every 1 human death, there's 10 million shark deaths. This reduction is caused not only by shark fin harvesting, but also the overfishing of the ocean. Overfishing of the ocean, in turn, causes depletion in the amount of food for sharks. So next time you have fish in the plate in front of you, think twice about where it comes from. Is it ethically sourced or contributing to mass extinction of ocean life?
The first step to moving forward is realizing how much sharks do to keep the ocean and humanity in balance. At the top of the food chain, sharks affect all species below them, keeping populations stabilized. If sharks are taken out, then everything, including humans, will be negatively influenced. Take a Jenga tower, for example. You have one supportive block at the bottom that affects all the blocks that surround and rely on it.
Let's kind of rewind a bit. All this information can be overwhelming, and the question still remains, why should you care? For those of you who've been to the ocean, you've experienced the power and the beauty of the water. Whenever I've been to the ocean, I remember just standing there on the sand watching the tide rise and fall. It's a really incredible experience. Yet the ocean is so much more. It's a vast body that holds the world in balance. It's a beautiful ecosystem full of life, yet it isn't untouchable. It can't survive on its own forever. If we've lost the ocean, we've lost an invaluable amount of support. So whether or not you like sharks, the ocean still affects you. Can you imagine a world without an ocean? An ocean where marine populations are overrun or extinct, directly affecting the meals of millions across the globe?
To help us better understand what will happen to the ocean's ecosystem if we continue to rapidly kill off sharks, let's look at another marine organism that was killed off, such as the Japanese sea lion. Though humans thought the Japanese sea lion tasted terrible, they still went out of their way to kill them for the valuable oil they had in their skin and blubber. They were also being killed off for their internal organs, which would play a main role in making Eastern medicine. Though fishermen knew that they were a source of goods, but they also viewed them as a threat. The reasoning for this was because they were impeding on their industry in eating all the fish. So, yes, in the 1970s, the fishermen finally made the Japanese sea lions go extinct. After they went extinct, the salmon and herring populations escalated rapidly, throwing off other related species. When the top predator is killed off, many species are affected. There are 240,000 species, and when one influential species is eliminated, countless others suffer. And the same goes for sharks. By being an apex predator, sharks are crucial in eliminating sick organisms from the ecosystem and controlling the feeding grounds and populations of species higher up in the Jenga tower.
In 2007, a study in North Carolina revealed that when great white sharks were removed from the equation, this created an imbalance when it came to cow-nosed rays. Their population skyrocketed, and therefore created a greater disproportion in oyster, clam, and scallop populations. Similarly, in Shark Bay, Australia, tiger sharks force herbivores like sea turtles to keep a distance, driving them into overgrown and unhealthy seabeds and coral reefs, and therefore maintaining healthy seabeds and coral reefs. By keeping every species in their own lane, sharks help keep the ocean balanced. This balance positively affects us by keeping fish and crustacean populations steady for our own commercial fishing and thereby feeding millions of people.
Many can get behind helping the ocean, yet they can't get behind helping sharks. So I propose an idea to help take away the stigma of shark attacks, while also propelling us toward actually making a difference and helping both sharks and the ocean. What if we view sharks as an ally rather than an enemy? What if we begin to save sharks instead of killing them, with the greater good of the ocean in mind?
Friends, the reality is, if we don't aid sharks in this battle of survival, we will one day find ourselves without them, and we'll find ourselves with an ocean that we don't recognize, an ocean that's on the verge of collapse. The astronomical effects of an imbalanced ocean cannot be fully predicted and understood. We cannot live without an ocean. In more ways than putting a meal in front of many. We need sharks. We need to break this misconception surrounding them and throw it away. Me and my collaborators want you to change your mindset from fear to action. We encourage you to change your misconception around sharks to a positive one. And we want you to keep in mind to, when you're buying food and cosmetic items, to watch out for shark liver oil and shark ingredients. Here are some cruelty-free and vegan brands that keep within these lines. We are not asking you to go and protest for shark rights. No, we're asking you to transform yourself from this misconception and then transform others and then hopefully brighten the future of million sharks, therefore brightening the future of the ocean. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you so much. I want to take one final moment here to give a round of applause for all of our presenters. They did such a great job. I also want to give another big thank you to all of the folks here at the library for helping us put this on. So let's give them a round of applause as well. Thank you, Spokane Public Library. What we have right now is some wonderful artwork that you can see up and around, also displayed on some tables in the back. We invite everyone to take a look at that art, read those artist statements, have some fun, wonderful conversations around those pieces of art. And we're also in that moment of transitioning to go back to TCS. I want to make one final point here to say that doing project-based learning in the community, doing real things with students, doing wonderful public presentations. That's why I chose to be at TCS as an educator. This is a wonderful display of agency on our students' part, and I can't be more proud of all of the wonderful students that we had up here presenting. So you guys did a great job. Well done. So please go ahead and take a look at the art. If you're ready to head back, find the facilitator that you took 5 with this morning. Well done.